Hello, Lois.
Hello, Sylvia.
How are you today?
Freezing cold. How are you?
Warm. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm in Johannesburg, South Africa, and we've just had snow, which is something that never happens in this part of the world. So it was all very exciting to see snow, but of course not used to that cold either. So I live in Joburg. I always say smile with Lois. That's how I describe who I am. And that is basically using the acronym of SMILE to describe what I do. So the S is I'm a speaker, storyteller, I'm a TEDx speaker and an author. M is a mentoring. I is inspiring. I hope I'm inspiring. L is I'm a learning facilitator. And E is I'm an empowering coach. Yeah, and I also call myself Lois, your friend for forgiveness, because I believe very strongly in forgiveness.
I love that. I love that. So, how did you get to where you are now?
Well, I've lived a long and circuitous life. I've had so many experiences and I've done so much in my life. So if we've got 3 hours, I can tell you how I got here. So,
What, what made you want to be a coach?
well, it happened as I sort of evolved, I suppose. My first career was marketing, then I went into consulting, and then I moved into training, and I started my own training business. And I think coaching is a natural evolution from training, because you're training, you're facilitating group learning, and then you realize that you need personal one-on-one learning, and that is very different to training. So it evolved over time.
Yeah, I love that. So, in your lifetime, how many times have you got to reinvent yourself and find yourself again?
Again, so many times, because as I said, my first career was marketing, and I worked in a number of different fields in marketing, but the main area was fast-moving consumer goods. I worked for a chocolate company. I worked for fast restaurants. I worked for all different kinds of marketing companies. And then I reinvented myself as a management consultant. And that was very different. I worked on coal mines. I worked in hospitals. That was really interesting. It gave me such a broad understanding of business in general, of the different types of business. I did work for the Navy, for the Army. So I've really got an exposure to almost, I think I've touched every industry in some form or other in various capacities. So yeah, so I reinvented myself as a management consultant. Then from there, what did I do? I at one point I became a digital print owner. I started a printing business in partnership in the early days when digital printing was brand new. I started that. And sorry, I have a cat that keeps wanting to come on camera. And I had a digital printing business, brand new. We were the first ones in the region to have digital printing. So that was a whole new reinvention again, to be a business owner in the printing world, totally new. From there, I de-invented myself. I went back into marketing, FMCG, retailing. And then I became my own business. I became an entrepreneur. I started my own training business, which I did for, I don't know how many years, maybe 8 or 9 years. And then once again, I changed. I left the country. I left South Africa. I went to the Middle East. And there, not quite reinventing myself, but reinventing my situation. Worked in the Middle East as a trainer leadership and management training. And then that's when I discovered coaching, and I studied and became a coach. And then when I left the Middle East and came, so there I was an executive coach. So it was very much business coaching and leadership and management coaching. And then when I came back to South Africa at age 64, I reinvented myself again, this time as a life coach, specializing in helping people overcome trauma. Phew. And I'm actually busy reinventing myself again.
Okay. What was the lowest point in your life?
Well, that's an easy one. When I had that digital printing business, I was working late one night there, and I was attacked. I was attacked on the premises, viciously attacked. I was raped, I was stabbed, I was tied up, I was left to bleed to death. And as a result of that, my business partner, I didn't want to work there anymore. So I said to my business partner, I wanted him to buy me out. I wanted to leave. And instead of buying me out, he betrayed me, and he put the business into liquidation, and I lost everything, and I went very deep into debt. So the combination of the attack and the combination of losing my business, I was at an all-time low.
What were you feeling? What were you experiencing?
Well, it was quite a combination of things, because it was obviously anger, huge anger, that both of those things should happen to me in the space of a couple of months. And it was anger. I think that was the biggest feeling. Why would people do these things? Why would my partner do that? Why would the stranger do that to me? And so, yeah, I had obviously other emotions that came and went over time. But I think the biggest emotion that I experienced was anger, and I wanted to get revenge and change the world, and I wanted to, I wanted to make a difference, I think, was my first reaction to it. I wanted to make sure that the man who raped me was out on bail for rape, and I just thought, I've got to change the law, I've got to change the world, this shouldn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what was the shift for you?
Well, the shift, it was a long time coming for the shift. I first became an activist, wanting to change the world, leading marches, petitions, writing to ministers, and doing what I could, going public. This happened at a time way before the Me Too movement, and people never spoke about it. It was hush hush. So going public was quite a bold move on my part. And the problem with that is, because I was going so public and I was, fighting the good fight, I wasn't dealing with my emotions. I wasn't dealing with the anger and the hurt and the pain. I was feeling pretty good about myself. Look at me, I'm changing the world. And at one point, I decided to forgive my partner. I just felt, I hated him. I hated him so much. I thought, if I see him in the street, I'm going to ride him over with my car. I really hated him that much. And then I thought, no, wait a minute. He's got on with his life. He's happy. And I'm the one who's hurting. What's the point of that? So I decided to forgive him, which was fairly easy. I just sat with him and I said to him, I want to know why he did what he did. And it was such a relief to just let go of that hatred and that anger that I had towards him. But the biggest shift came about 2 years later, where one day I just couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't walk, my back collapsed. And I went for doctors and scans and what have you. And the surgeon, I had to have a back operation. And the first back operation failed. I had a second back operation, and that too failed. The surgeon said I would never hike or scuba dive again, which were my two passions at the time, because I could never carry anything on my back. And so I was bedridden for 6 months. I literally couldn't do anything. And one day it was pointed out to me that there was nothing wrong with me. It was all in my head. It was all psychosomatic. And it was my sister who pointed it out to me. She said to me, because I wasn't dealing with the problems, I wasn't dealing with the issues, I was putting them behind me and putting them behind me and putting them behind me, loading my back with all of these issues until my back said, wait a minute, I can't do this anymore. And my back just said, sorry, I'm taking time out. And so that was the shift, to lie there and think, well, what am I going to do about this? You know, is it psychosomatic? Is it real? And it was psychosomatic because I went inside then and I did the inner work, the healing of those emotions that I hadn't dealt with. And I had 8 chiropractic treatments, and I did a 5-day hiking trail with a 29-kilogram backpack on my back.
Amazing, amazing. So what inspired you to forgive?
Well, that happened, well, as I say, with my partner, it was quite easy, really. But what happened was I left the country and I was working overseas, and I'd been away a year, and I was coming back for my first holiday. And in all the time that I'd been away, or all the time since I'd been attacked, I'd never once sort of tried to find out what had happened to the rapist. He had been caught, he had been given a 25-year prison sentence. And I just thought, oh, well, that's it, he's in prison, he's out of my life, he's out of other people's lives, he can't hurt anybody. And so I just got on with my life. And coming back for my first holiday, I don't know what prompted me, serendipity, the universe, whatever, I don't know. I decided to contact the authorities, and they advised me that he was coming up for parole the day after I arrived back in the country. So that was such a coincidence. And in addition, the law in South Africa had just changed, allowing what they called victims of crime to attend parole hearings. So I thought, that's just all too much. I have to do it. And everybody said, no, you can't do it. Don't go. You're going to get triggered. It's going to be hurtful, harmful. And I just said, no, I'm going. The universe has spoken. I have to go. And so I went. But one of my friends had said to me, if you are going to go, you've got to forgive. And I said, how can I forgive this man, what he did? I can't forgive him. But I did some research. I did a lot of research, and I just thought, just in case. I didn't think I would ever forgive him. But we sat in the parole hearing, and when it came to my turn to speak, did they say I had anything? They asked me if I had anything to say, and I just looked at this guy, and something to the effect of, I said, I want to truly and completely and compassionately forgive you. And I hand the responsibility from me to your higher self, and now it's your responsibility to carry that. And I forgive you. Well, there was a stunned silence in the room. The authorities were astounded. Anyway, they said to me they would let me know in 7 days if he got parole or not. And it was the most amazing thing, because in that moment, I looked at them and I said, no, I don't need to know if he gets parole, because that bond that was tying me to him, that was holding me to him, in that moment when I forgave, I broke that bond and it set me free. And I walked out of that prison. I didn't walk out that prison. I flew out of that prison, my butterfly. I flew out of that prison completely free.
That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. What would you say to other women in similar positions as you in regards to forgiveness?
Oh, I would say, please don't wait. I waited 14 years. And that freedom that it gave me, I could have had it much sooner. Now, you can't forgive immediately because you've got to deal with those emotions. You know, while you're still full of hatred and anger and pain and shame and blame and all of those different emotions, you can't forgive. It's not possible because you've got to deal with the emotions first. So I would say deal with the emotions, and then then forgive. And I've got a 12-step, don't know why it's 12-step process on how to forgive. But it's also about making forgiveness a part of who you are. So I say I'm your friend for forgiveness because it's become a part of me. And it's a muscle. And if you practice it, it becomes very easy to forgive. So you practice forgiving yourself. I had to forgive myself for not knowing how to fight. I fought him with everything I had, but it wasn't enough. I had to forgive myself for working late that night. I'd had invites to go out and I worked. Afterwards, I drank too much. I had to forgive myself for drinking too much. So one needs to forgive yourself. Whatever the situation is, you were there for a reason. You were there out of your own choice. And so you need to forgive yourself for that. And so I say, everyone now keeps a gratitude journal, 3 things to be grateful for. I say 3 things to forgive yourself for. Forgive yourself for kicking the dog for eating your slipper. Forgive yourself for burning the toast. Forgive yourself for not phoning your friend on her birthday. And those little things that you feel don't really need forgiveness, it just gets you into the habit of saying, it's okay, I made a mistake. It's okay to let it go. Instead of holding and saying, oh, you stupid, you horrible person, why didn't you do that? Yeah. And then on the other hand is to forgive somebody else. Forgive the dog for chewing my slipper. Forgive the husband for not bringing the milk home. Forgive the other friend who forgot to phone you on your birthday. Okay. So again, it's just practice that forgiveness, build that muscle, and you'll find it gets easier and easier and easier. And don't wait. Deal with the emotions and then forgive.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I'm hearing acceptance and freedom.
And such peace and freedom comes from it, yes. And you know, in terms of forgiveness, had your dog known better not to eat the slipper, he wouldn't have done it. You know, had that man known what he was doing was totally wrong, maybe he wouldn't have done it. You know, so based on what is happening at the moment, decisions are made based on what people know and understand and believe. And, you know, maybe his belief was, well, you know, I come from a dysfunctional family and this happened all around me all the time. It's what we do. And had he been taught and shown a better way, he wouldn't have done it. So you mentioned the word acceptance. So it's accepting that these things happen and you can't change what happened. It happened.
Very powerful, very powerful. When you were talking about changing laws, whatever came of that? Were you able to?
Well, it was just fortunate in a way, I suppose. South Africa was just coming out of the apartheid era and we were busy, the government was busy writing a new constitution. So they were calling for public submissions for things to put into the constitution. So I think some of my ideas were considered and built into that constitution. So yes, I think I made a small little impact on the world.
Yeah, that's, yes, beautiful. So yeah, you made a contribution and created a shift. I love it. So what did you create with your life after the forgiveness and breaking free from the pain?
Well, I became an international traveler. I was known as a bit of a risk taker. I traveled mostly solo, and I traveled to countries usually not traveled to by women, countries such as Pakistan and Iran and Iraq and Lebanon and Haiti and countries like that. Yeah. So I became a bit of a risk taker because I would go with no plans. I wouldn't do much research and I would just arrive in a country, hire a car, no bookings, and just go and just follow my nose. And it was fantastic because it brought me in touch with so many different cultures and peoples and habits and traditions. It was fabulous. So I did a lot of traveling. So yeah, I suppose that came with the freedom to, I've been hurt as bad as anybody can hurt. What can be worse now? So yeah.
What did you discover about yourself through that journey?
That I've got great resilience. I've got great grit. I love learning. I love just interacting with new cultures and new people and just learning from others. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm always researching something new, doing something different. So yeah, I've probably discovered a lot more about myself, but again, we'll be here for another hour.
Okay. What do you have any advice for the women out there who are on a journey to finding themselves again, or finding themselves, period?
Absolutely. I can, I just want to see if I can find this thing quickly. I've got a model here, which I'd like to just share with you. So basically, when you're going through any change, any challenge, any adversity, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter what it is, your life is disrupted. Life is going along and something happens. You lose your job. Your husband divorces you. You have an accident. It could be anything. You go through a disruption. And what happens is you become a victim. And a victim is, oh, woe is me, look what happened. And that's where you have all of those negative emotions, hatred, fear, anger, whatever it is. And it's important to have those emotions. Don't ignore those emotions. They're there for a reason. And I know a lot of the positivity coaches are saying, just go positive. I'm saying, yes, go positive, but only after you've dealt with the negative. So whatever that emotion is, deal with it. Figure out, and I've got steps on how one can do that, but really, and there's so many ways you can deal with it, with mindfulness and exercise and mind mapping and all kinds of tools. There's so many things. Therapy is also obviously one. So deal with those emotions that are making you a victim. And then you start developing the resilience. And this is how you pick yourself up. A lot of people say resilience is bouncing back. You never bounce back. You crawl and fight your way back. Okay. But you build that resilience by refocusing, redirecting your energies, by reframing what you've experienced. I also say it's important that you take the event, whatever it is, and the emotions, and you separate them, divorce them from each other, because you can't change what happened, but you can change how you feel about what happened. So you need to separate those two. So then by building your resilience and dealing with those emotions, you now become a survivor. And I call it a survivor because you're still having to deal with some of those. A survivor is still part of the struggle. And so now what you need to do is you need to refocus. You need to find something new to focus on, a new direction. Maybe it's the new job, maybe it's a new relationship, maybe it's just a new mindset, but find something new to focus on. And then go forward to whatever it is you're focusing on with grit. And grit is that passion and that perseverance and that persistence that makes you go forward. And that's when you become a thriver. When you've really gone forward, found that new opportunity, that new way. And then it's important to continue growing, get that growth mindset. And if you want, only if you want, a benefit mindset. And the benefit mindset is maybe what you and I both do. And that's where you give back. You take your learning from your life experience and you say, how can I use this to help other people? So growth mindset is learning new things. A benefit mindset is giving back based on what you know, what you've experienced. And then, of course, it's that forgiveness. And that is when you soar and fly free from whatever it is.
Wow.
So it's a process, and I think it's important that people understand that everybody's journey is different. No two people will go through it at the same pace. No two people will need the same tools and techniques. There are hundreds of tools and techniques and methods, and one may work for you and one may not work for you. So it's a matter of saying, okay, that didn't work, let me try the next one, because there is something that will work for you. But do follow the process that I've got here on the chart. If you follow that process and find the right modalities, you will find that freedom.
Yeah, I love that. And how would you explain to someone who doesn't understand what a growth mindset is? How would you explain that to them?
It's just about knowing that the brain is plastic. We talk about the plasticity of the brain. Everyone thinks as you get older, look at me, I'm 68 now and I'm still learning. I'm on different learning programs all the time. You never lose the ability to learn, and your brain can continue to take in new information. And just to know that you can be better, you can always be better, you can always know more. And just to have that mindset to know that you can, and then do it. Go and learn something. It doesn't matter what you learn, a language, anything. Just go and learn history. It doesn't matter. But just keep your mind young and active by having that knowledge that, yes, you can continue to learn as you grow older.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And how would you explain, or how would you inspire another woman to share her story and what she's learned from her event, that
Okay.
from victim to survivor? How would you, yeah.
It's, I was so public and I was out there sharing my story with the world. You've got to be careful to, there's talk therapy. There's so many types of therapy. Talk therapy is good when you're in a good place. But if you're not in a good place, just talking about it can trigger more negativity. So talk to your cat, talk to your dog, talk to your mirror, because when you talk, when you speak about it, you're actually getting it out of you. And I believe you're sharing it with the universe, and the universe starts taking some of that and sharing some of that pain. So talking is good. Talking publicly is only good if you are ready for it and you've got the resources and the support. Don't go and just do it on your own, because you could land up being triggered and could set you back. So talk therapy is good with resources. And then writing, and it can be any kind of writing, free form writing. Keep a journal. I kept a journal. You write your thoughts, your feelings. Some people say once you've written it, burn it. I say, especially if you're writing your thoughts and feelings, what's good about that, in months down the road, you think, oh, I'm still in such a bad place, life is terrible. And then you read back to day 1 and day 2, and you think, gosh, no, I don't feel like that anymore. I have improved. And so it becomes a little bit of a benchmark to measure how well you are progressing on your healing journey. Yeah. So writing, and then finding those modalities that work for you. Somatic is all about the body. It's all about touch and feeling. And there's so many little techniques that you can use just with touch to focus your mind. So when you're feeling triggered, when you're feeling upset, when you're having those negative emotions, you can do various exercises where you just concentrate. You trace your fingers on your hand and you concentrate totally on it. While you're doing that, you can't think about your problems. Breathing, mindfulness, taking a walk in nature, playing with your dog or your cat, all of those things take your mind off and so that's where the positivity idea comes in, where let's just be positive. Let's stop thinking about the negative for a while and let's think of the positive. So there is a place for it, but only after you've dealt with the emotions.
Yes, I love that. I love that. That is very informative, to not just jump right into it and to really process it and yeah, and share. So where can everyone find you?
Well, if you Google Walking Without Skin, Walking Without Skin is the name of my webpage. It's the name of my book. So if you look for Walking Without Skin, you will definitely find me. That's my book cover. The book, by the way, it started off, it took me years to write because I wrote it as a journal with every intention of publishing it as a journal. And then it became a diary and it became blah, 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 blah. And it became very boring. And so I put it away. And I didn't have an ending. And then when I did the forgiveness, I had an ending. But then I was traveling the world and I didn't have time to write. And so it took me a long, long time to write the book. But when I eventually wrote it, I changed it. So it's part journal and it's part self-help guide. So it's got tips and lessons on what you can do as you go through those different phases.
Yeah.
So if you just Google Walking Without Skin, you will find me. I've got a YouTube channel. You will definitely find me. There is only one other thing, Walking Without Skin, that you'll find, and that is a robot. So that's not me. I'm definitely not a robot.
I will post the link with this video so they will be able to find you directly.
Great,
And
thanks.
you're welcome. How long did it take you to create this book?
Well, as I say, it evolved. It's evolved
Yeah.
over 20 years.
Okay.
Because as I said, it was a diary that I kept. I kept a very detailed diary for years. And as I said, it got really boring after a while.
Yeah.
So it was only when I got back to South Africa, I said, hey, come on, it's time to put this book together. So it didn't take long at all. It was very quick to just rework it. So yeah, it was quite quick once I got to that phase. So
Beautiful. Okay. Do you have a gift to offer the audience?
well, I've got that forgiveness guide.
Okay.
And on my webpage, you can get the forgiveness guide.
Okay.
I've also got a little quiz. It's not terribly scientific, but a little quiz to find out where you are on your journey. So you can do that. And then if people want, I can give them a 15-minute free consultation to find out what the next step is that they should do.
Yeah.
So I will give you the link where you can book a call with me for 15 minutes.
Beautiful. Yes, I will share the links. The links will be with the video and in the email. So yeah, thank you. That is beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for your gifts and sharing the power of forgiveness and the freedom that comes with it. It's very, very empowering.
Totally, totally.
Yes. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, not really. Just as I say, you're not alone, but it's your journey. There's help out there. Seek help, and talk to somebody. Please talk to somebody.
Yes. Yes.
And then I always end off everything by saying, "Blah free."
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Lois.
Thank you, Sylvia, and to all the other speakers on the summit. Take note what people are saying. There's so much wisdom out there.
Yes.